The Pale Beyond is a story-driven resource management suck-up simulator. Woo! Set aboard the Temperance in, I want to say the 1920s? You play as first mate Robin Shaw on a ship ready to set sail on an Antarctic expedition to find its lost sister ship. You complete the mission and everybody lives and nothing at all goes wrong and everyone lives happily ever after. And by nothing going wrong, I mean that only 2 of your crewmates have frostbite, 3 are malnourished, and well, hey, look at that! Only 7 crew members came back freezing after the last hunt. Okay, spoilers, this is a survival sim, so things go wrong whether you like it or not. And just like any good survival sim, this is a brutal game that has you constantly balancing every crew member on the brink of death just to keep enough rations to last the winter, where you'll burn penguins for fuel and eat coal. Wait, no, that's not right. The real beauty of this game though is in its story and characters, which are shaped by the choices you make. It begins with a job interview with the captain, and no matter how hard I tried, I always got the job, an already incredibly unrealistic video game standard. After insulting the captain's mother and eating his lunch, I moved to the docks where I met Templeton, the ship's no-nonsense science officer, a character who I still don't know if I like or not. I boarded the ship to a relatively easy start, adding coal to the furnace and food to the broth, using the maximum amount of my rations immediately because we had plenty to spare. The game progresses on a week-by-week basis, with fuel and food rations draining by a chosen amount each week, so I spent the first part of the game meandering around the ship, finding useful loot and meeting the crew. During most of my playthrough, I was exploring the characters' stories and growing attached to each individual. Individuals that had their own agendas, loyalties, and specialties. So when I had to pick and choose who to send on various hunts or dangerous tasks, I had to be careful, lest I accidentally send out an engineer to hunt a leopard seal with nothing but a spanner. But if I wasn't progressing our daunting and arguably hopeless mission of sailing to the South Pole to find a missing ship, I'd be trying to keep morale high and balance what requests to give and whose game of cricket I'd be sending into the ocean. All the while I was hooked from start to finish on the story, wondering where the captain went, what was really going on with the mission, and weighing up important decisions that could either get us all killed or give us some much needed rations. And when the characters I'd grown to care about had their lives in my hands, I spent much of the game going through conversation options like,
okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we get, I don't know what I want.
I hate how indecisive you're getting.
I'm not indecisive,
Yes,
I just
you
can't
are.
decide.
whilst at the same time constantly shaking the science officer screaming, "Answer!" Because in between the resource management and the assigning of crew members to various tasks, the mission didn't appear to be quite what it seemed. Mysteries arose, the crew began to talk, and I complimented everyone I possibly could to get those sweet loyalty points. You see, after only a few weeks at sea, the captain mysteriously vanished, so the crew held a vote for a new captain, and as first mate I seemed like the most sensible fit. Just about. And a big part of the game is about getting the crew's loyalty as the new captain to secure a more unified ship and shape the story for the better. So for the rest of the game, I was carefully browsing through every dialogue option, looking out for the one that screamed, "Hey, look at me and how lovely of a captain I am!" Because every crew member wanted nothing but to be loved. So you bet I was complimenting them on how nice their cooking was and how smooth their skin is every chance I got. Because that's the best way to get those juicy loyalty points. This is probably my only critique of the game. Getting the loyalty of the crew as an outsider is an interesting narrative thread, but outside of the occasional request that has you balancing loyalty versus resources, it mostly boils down to giving them compliments and agreeing with whatever they say, forcing you to play as a people pleaser, which would absolutely lose you a lot of respect from people in real life, but everyone on board laps it up. At least the game let me know exactly what I was gonna say though, rather than in some games where they show me one dialogue option and then my character just says something completely different.
You don't know him like I do.
You know what, David? Time for you to open your eyes. Kate's gonna leave your ass.
What?
She told me so.
Honey!
I did struggle sometimes though to know if a particular dialogue option was sarcastic or not. As well as balancing rations and fuel, there's also a morale meter, which goes up when the crew are warm and well fed, and down when they're not. And if that reaches 0, it's game over. But as long as you're not feeding your crew a Christmas feast every week, it's pretty straightforward to complete the game without dying. You just have to be comfortable with the fact that everyone is hungry and cold all the time. But I mean, you're at the South Pole, that kind of makes sense. And as if that isn't bad enough, the game does ram some gut-wrenching moments into your chest, sometimes a little too obviously for dramatic effect for my liking, but nonetheless the hardship that the crew faces and the conflicts that arise are well contrasted by the gorgeous art of the winter landscape and the charming character designs. So the crew may be starving, but at least they get to look at the
Aurora Borealis?
But if you do accidentally insult everyone's mothers or kill all the crew members, the game does feature a tree branch system where you can go back to a previous week and remake decisions, but I'd recommend not using it until you complete the game for a more authentic experience. I still have 24 crew members left. Oh my god, no, absolutely not. Those dogs can't survive out there on their own. For those wondering, yes, there are dogs in this game. And yes, you can pet them. As many times as you like. That alone should be enough to buy this game.